They thought they could bully me into silence. They thought destroying the old wooden bridge would break me. But they didn't know the bridge wasn't mine, and when the county stepped in, the HOA's little power game turned into the biggest disaster they'd ever faced. If you love shocking twists, ruthless karma, and endings that leave you breathless, then buckle up, this story will drag you in from the first sentence to the last. Subscribe for more wild real-life style dramas like this one. The morning the HOA tore down the bridge was the same morning I finally decided I was done tolerating their nonsense, but I didn't know just how big of a mistake they had made until it was too late for them to fix anything, and even now when I look back, I can still hear the roar of the bulldozer and the smug voices of the board members saying, "He can't stop us, this is private HOA property," as if they owned the entire world and I was just a stubborn insect in their way. The truth was far from that, but the way this entire disaster unfolded felt like a slow-motion explosion that kept growing and growing until it swallowed the whole community. It started 3 months earlier when I moved into Cedar Ridge Estates, a neighborhood known for its exclusive community standards, which basically meant the HOA acted like royalty while everyone else crawled around trying not to break one of their endless rules. I had bought the house for the peace and the forested walking trails near the creek behind my property, especially the weathered wooden bridge crossing the narrow stream, a rustic old thing that looked like it belonged in a painting. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't new, but it was part of the charm that made me fall in love with the place. The very first week, I took my dog Jasper for a walk across that bridge, admiring the way the boards creaked underfoot, and thought nothing of it until a notice from the HOA arrived taped to my door saying, "Unapproved private structure located behind your property, remove immediately or face fines." At first, I laughed and ignored it, because the bridge was clearly older than any of the houses here. It had moss, worn beams, and county survey markers hammered into its posts, which made me think it probably belonged to the county trail system. But the HOA had that invincible arrogance, the kind that made them believe everything within walking distance was theirs, and so they kept sending letters, each more hostile than the last, threatening fines, legal action, even structural abatement, something I'd never heard of until they explained it meant forced demolition. I told them repeatedly that the bridge was not mine and they needed to check with the county, but they brushed me off, saying, "You're responsible for what is behind your lot." It didn't matter that the bridge wasn't actually behind my lot but on a thin section of land owned by the county for public access to the creek. The HOA didn't care. They wanted to clean up the trail area and remove what they called eyesores, which was hilarious because they allowed those hideous plastic lawn geese dressed in sailor outfits but were offended by a century-old bridge that had character. They kept pushing, I kept refusing, and things escalated until they sent me a warning that the board had voted to take action themselves if I didn't comply. I forwarded all their notices to the county office with a brief, "FYI, the HOA thinks your bridge belongs to me," which earned me a chuckling reply from a county employee who said, "Don't worry, they can't touch county property without permission." I should have felt at ease, but something about the HOA president, Marjorie, an iron-haired woman with the personality of a malfunctioning robot, told me they wouldn't let it go. And I was right. One morning, I woke up to the grinding sound of machinery. Jasper barked, I jumped out of bed, and when I ran to the backyard, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. 2 hired contractors with a bulldozer tearing into the side of the old wooden bridge, ripping up boards like they were weeds, while Marjorie, the vice president Stan, and several smug onlookers watched with clipboards. "Hey," I shouted, running to the creek. "You can't do that. That's county property." But Marjorie only gave me that stiff smile she used whenever she lied. "We've given you months to remove this unauthorized structure. Since you refused, we're handling it. It's not mine." I yelled again, but the bulldozer operator didn't care, and within minutes, the bridge collapsed into the water in a splintered heap. I stood there shaking with rage, knowing this wouldn't end the way they expected. I called the county immediately, and when they heard the news, the tone shifted from amusement to icy seriousness. They did what? Without a permit, the county inspector, a man named Rivera, arrived within an hour, walked straight past me, and confronted Marjorie with a level of calm fury I'd never seen before. "Who authorized you to destroy county infrastructure?" he asked. Marjorie puffed up like a bird trying to look bigger. "It was an unapproved private structure that violated HOA standards." Rivera stared at her as if she'd confessed to arson. "Ma'am, this bridge is part of the county-maintained trail system. You just destroyed public property." The color drained from her face so quickly I thought she might faint. Behind her, Stan muttered something like, "This can't be right." But Rivera was already on the phone with the sheriff's office, explaining that an HOA had illegally demolished government infrastructure. News spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. People who normally avoided confrontation came out of their houses to watch as sheriff deputies questioned the HOA board members. Cameras showed up, even the local news station came. And the best part, the county had exact records showing the cost of maintaining and repairing the bridge, including an update scheduled for the following year, an update the HOA was now fully responsible for funding. They were slapped with massive fines, investigations, and a reconstruction order requiring historical accuracy restoration, which meant the new bridge had to look exactly like the old one but meet modern safety standards, costing triple what the HOA had budgeted in total for community improvements. Members rioted. Homeowners who never liked the board now had the perfect reason to demand their resignation. Emergency meetings were held in crowded living rooms. People screamed. Someone accused Marjorie of ruining the neighborhood. Someone else threatened to sue. Then the real twist came. The contractors the HOA hired. They hadn't been given the correct permits or insurance, meaning the HOA board members were personally liable. Personally, as in their own bank accounts, their own assets, their own savings. Their attorney quit when he realized what they'd dragged him into. The board tried to blame each other. Marjorie tried claiming I misled them by not proving the bridge wasn't mine. But Rivera shut that down instantly. It wasn't your job to educate them. It was their job to verify ownership before demolishing anything. Within weeks, the entire HOA board was replaced, leaving the former board members drowning in lawsuits, county penalties, personal debt, and furious neighbors who blamed them for a spike in dues and fees. Meanwhile, the county sent me a thank you note for notifying them and offered me a say in the design of the rebuilt bridge. I recommended keeping its rustic charm, and they agreed. The new bridge is being built now, stronger, safer, and beautiful, and every time I walk Jasper across the temporary path, I can't help smiling at the fact that the HOA destroyed the wrong person's property, and in doing so, destroyed themselves instead. Their mistake, thinking I was the problem. But the real problem was their arrogance, and karma dealt with them exactly the way it needed to, loudly, publicly, and permanently.